please.
Alderman Beeman.
Here.
Alderman Stanley.
Here.
Administrator Lippert.
Here.
Mayor Cozy.
Here.
Attorney Voss.
Here.
Alderman Dollar. Here. Alderman Sykes.
Here.
Everybody join me for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The first item we have on the agenda is the consent agenda. The council report, April 14th, 2023 through April 27th, 2023. And the Board of Aldermen meeting minutes, April 3rd, 2023.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented. Second.
May I have roll call, please?
Alderman Beeman.
Aye.
Alderman Stanley.
Aye.
Alderman Dollar.
Aye.
Alderman Sykes.
Aye.
Next item we have is ordinances and resolutions. We have bill number 2023-24, an ordinance amending Chapter 12, Article 4, electric power, telephone, and gas services, Section 13 through 52, license tax levied amount based on gross receipts. Administrator Lippert.
So when I came on board, I started reviewing, the utility bills that we paid. And one of the things that jumped out was that on most, but not all, of our utility bills was the St. Clair municipal tax, which we collect from each individual department accordingly. And then we pay on our electric bill that municipal tax. So the Ameren turns around and collects that tax and then pays us back that same amount, theoretically. And then that money goes into general revenue. So it's really an accounting nightmare if we were to do it accurately, to take that money and return it each pro rata back to each individual department that we were taking the money from. So in conversations with Ameren, their advice was do what every other municipality does and just change ordinance so that it says that you make the cities exempt from the city's tax. So after talking with them and talking to the city attorney, we just added basically the language that just excludes the city from paying a city municipal tax. So it would, basically about $2,800 a month of our electric bill is city municipal tax. And so it would reduce the amount we pay, and then it would just generally just reduce it's a not thing, but from just a correct bookkeeping standpoint, it just cleans things up a little bit. So all it does is just excludes the city from paying the city's tax. Now we get back in.
So you're just eliminating one step, correct?
Well, eliminating a bunch of accounting steps.
That's the. I'll introduce bill number 2023-24 for first and second reading by title only, please.
Bill number 2023-24, an ordinance amending Chapter 13, Article 4, electric, power, telephone, and gas services, Section 13 through 52, license tax levied, amount based on gross receipts of the Code of Ordinances of the City of St. Clair. Second reading, an ordinance amending Chapter 13, Article 4, electric, power, telephone, and gas services, Section 13 through 52, license tax levied, amount based on gross receipts of the Code of Ordinances of the City of St. Clair.
I have a question. Is that in fact Chapter 13 or 12? Because it says Chapter 12 on our agenda.
Oh.
So is it 12 or 13?
It's 13, Section 52.
I move to approve bill number 2023-24 as read.
Second.
Is there any questions about this ordinance? Roll call, please. Roll call. May I have roll call, please?
Alderman Beelen.
Aye.
Alderman Salem.
Aye.
Alderman Dorwart.
Aye.
Alderman Sack.
Aye.
Motion carries. Bill number 2023-24 becomes ordinance number 2117. Next, we have resolution number 2023-06, a resolution approving changes to personnel policy regarding social media. Administrator Lippert.
So on our personnel policy handbook, one of the other things that I've been reviewing is it talks about internet use, computer use, everything else. Section F had basically 5 lines. We gave this to you last meeting for you guys to look at. But it really didn't provide a lot of guidance to the employees. And so what we did was we took a collection of, I think, 6 different municipalities, what they had, and then wrote section F to be mostly as a guideline for the employees on what they should and shouldn't post on social media when they represent the city. And then you get into bulleting and those kind of things too, that we just want to make sure that all those are on there. And then we also then are trying to establish a chain of command for communications, so that if anybody does post anything publicly or maybe the media or anything like that, that there's a chain of command for that information, so that everything flows up through me so that I can make you guys aware of it. So that's what this resolution does. Again, we put this in your packet just as information 2 weeks ago, so hopefully you had a chance to look at it and read over it. But it's basically just, like I said, establishing guidelines for the staff on social media use when it pertains to the city.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2023-06.
Second.
Does anyone have any questions about this resolution? May I have roll call, please?
Alderman Beelen.
Aye.
Alderman Salem.
Aye.
Alderman Dorwart. Alderman Sack.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next, we have resolution number 2023-07, a resolution approving an emergency operation plan. Administrator Lippert.
So we didn't reprint it in this packet, but Craig has gone through great lengths to prepare an emergency action plan for the city. It's been long overdue and forthcoming, but he did a great job putting it together. And I think the incidents, Craig, what was that town that had that in southeastern Missouri?
The latest was Bollinger County.
Bollinger. So, this, I think, is a really useful document, and it's not a static document. It's going to be something that we develop over time, but it really, I think, establishes, and Craig, I'll give you a chance to speak on it. In this case, what happens? In this case, what happens? What's the flow of information between the fire department, the ambulance, the county, sheriff's department, all those kind of things. So it'll again, kind of help us be prepared in the event that we have an incident like what Bollinger County went through. So you have anything you want to add to that?
It's, you covered it very well, but the plan is a SEMA developed plan. We need to have this on file with SEMA. Once the disaster is mitigated, if it is declared a federal disaster, FEMA is going to want to see this plan. That's the first thing they're going to ask for. It is a formal plan. The best way I can describe it, it's like a toolbox. We'll take parts out of this formal plan that we need to mitigate whatever disaster the city may encounter. Once this is approved, then we'll go back and we'll start working on the actual day-to-day operational plan. You'll notice there are a lot of, the chain of command is in there, the chart's in there. We plug those names in as the disaster unfolds. So it is a very dynamic plan. But this is the formal plan. This will go on file with SEMA. Now we'll go back and we'll start working on actually the nuts and bolts of it, if you will.
So I would make a motion to approve resolution number 2023-07.
Second.
Does anyone have any questions about this resolution? May I have roll call, please?
Alderman Beelen.
Aye.
Alderman Salem.
Aye.
Alderman Gilbert. Alderman Satton.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next, we have resolution number 2023-08, a resolution implementing a park advisory board.
So, thank you. So we, I actually just spoke a little bit last meeting. It turns out that the ordinance that we had in place for a park board was decodified. So we weren't able to go back and just reestablish it, although we really can't find anywhere where it was removed correctly. I mean, there was a signature by the then mayor at the time. No other automatic votes were recorded, so, but it was decodified. So unfortunately, we took the state language on park boards and created this resolution based on the citizens' guidelines. So that's what you got.
The only thing that I have a question about is, in the resolution, it specifically outlines when the regular meetings shall be held. Is there a way to change that verbiage? Because, I mean, how do we know that the people that are going to be appointed to this board can all make that specific time? I mean, is there a way to change that verbiage of the resolution to be a time amendable? You know, they should meet monthly at a time amendable to the board. It says there is verbiage for that it can be rescheduled, but it says due to holidays. I mean, I'm thinking that per that verbiage, they can't change it to say the second Tuesday of each month if someone from the board can't make that meeting.
Yeah, and we kind of, in looking at this, wanted to make it so that once the board was in place and they elected their board of directors, that they would kind of establish their own kind of operating bylaws.
Okay.
So this was, again, just a template that we took basically from the state.
So you are expecting the board to set a time that meets that works for all of the members and not necessarily?
I would hope that, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you know, you want to forum with more people to get it possible. But
Right.
yeah, as far as this, really it was just a way to get it moving so that we can get the work. But yeah, so this is pretty much all verbiage from just, I mean, we made a few, you know, local pending changes, but for the most part, they're going to establish a board, and that board's going to decide when they meet and how they meet and all those kind of things. As far as I'm concerned.
I mean, there is value to having just a set time, so the public knows, just like planning and zoning always meets at this time.
Right.
And staff doesn't have to run around and say, if you want to do something with the park board, or you want to have a car show, you better go to the parks department.
Right.
Parks meeting, and they meet the third Thursday of the month.
Right.
I
And
mean,
my point wasn't that they wouldn't set a specific time. I think they should have a specific time, whether that be the third Thursday or the second Tuesday. I'm just saying if somebody is set on the board, appointed to the board, and say 3 people, you know, always do X, Y, Z on Thursdays, could the park board decide we're meeting on the second Tuesday of each month instead of always on the third? But I completely agree. It needs to be consistent because that's the only way to have that transparency with the public and that
again,
public engagement.
If you guys want to change that now, we will too. I mean,
I mean, I have nothing to base that on the change. I was just
Right.
asking, does this resolution allow for the board to set their own
and
time
I think we were
meeting?
just looking for, because right now, everything's on Mondays.
So why don't we just set it for this, but can we just add a lingo that they can set their own
Yeah,
specific?
that was basically my question, was does the verbiage of this resolution
I think
allow
there's
for
enough
that?
wiggle room in here that it can be done for holidays, emergencies, or approval of hard board by majority vote. I think in their organizational meeting, they can say, this is when we want to meet, or we think it's much better if we meet on Tuesdays or Saturdays, whatever.
And that was the clarification I was looking for, so, thank you. I move to approve resolution 2023-08 as read.
Are there any other questions about resolution number 2023-08?
The only thing I have is in item number 13, it says in order to stagger the terms, it's listed twice. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, sure is.
We just want to make sure.
It's,
It was there to see if I
That-
really
that'd be
read it.
That's exactly right. It's
I'm
an
ready.
administrator's tricky, man.
we've staggered the sentence.
May I have a roll call, please?
Alderman Beelen.
Aye.
Alderman Salem.
Aye.
Alderman Bohr.
Aye.
Alderman Scott.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next, we have unfinished business. We have a street closure request from Summerfest Motors on Main with an update.
Do we go up there or?
Yes, come up here and state your name and address, please.
Jessica Ramey, 208 Brentwood Drive, St. Clair. So today we are requesting to have the Summerfest amended to the exact way that it was last year, for the roads to be closed off from East Springfield to Kitchell. There was a miscommunication on the last road closure, and so today we are bringing it to have it basically the exact same way as the road was last year.
And this is, Chief seen this new,
Yes, he has.
I saw where there's not going to be a beer garden,
That is correct. There will be no beer garden.
but it shows Pepsi, beer, and then downtown in the open lot.
They might, I mean, they might have a sidewalk.
Like
I
the
can't say that
businesses
the businesses are not
themselves.
gonna have a picnic
I
license.
mean, do you know what I'm saying? It's showing in the vacant lot that there's Pepsi, beer, and then something else there on that empty lot. This is what's on the site plan.
This, it's actually a map from last year. If you look at the map, it's where the Pepsi wagon, the beer wagon, and then downtown sold their shirts right in front of that vacant lot. So I don't know if it was just a misprint, or do they still plan on having the wagon on?
There's not gonna be no beer.
No, there will not be
I
any
think it
beer.
must be just left over from last year.
Yeah.
I can't say what Daniel and what, the old Blondies is gonna do. I don't know what they're gonna do, but I mean, you know, they've got.
As far as a beer garden. in
But as
the
far as
vacant
us
lot,
putting
there
on a
will
beer
not be
garden,
one.
no.
So the only beer will be sold by people who already have a liquor license.
Correct.
Absolutely. Yeah, we are not gonna apply for no liquor license.
And you're not changing the times from
No,
the
the-
last application?
The times are still the 1 to 9. The only thing that is changing is just the road closure. Everything else remains the same. I guess if there's a beer garden on there, that's not happening.
Did additional people register or to extend the space? Or it was just, like, did more people sign
Yeah,
up?
so there are several other businesses that want to be involved with Summerfest on the south side of the tracks. And so that's why we are bringing it today, is because those businesses want to be a part of Summerfest. But if we close the roads from whatever that, I don't know what that street is, right there in front of the tracks to Kitchell, then those businesses cannot partake in the entire event.
My only concern will be the time, because those roads are gonna be all closed at dark. I mean, like, every barricade is all